Mr. Inslee is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Just for the record, I'd like to say, since our commander-in-chief was questioned about basketball, I would bet $1 he could beat the last gentleman in a game on 101. I'd like to see it, but we'll
be happy to take him up on that. I'd like to meet with him to do that. If that's what I need to do to meet with him, I'll take him up on it.
I'll suggest.
Challenge him in a day. Thank you, Mr. Inslee.
Well, he's taken me to the hoop, so he's a good ball player. I want to ask Dr. Mason some questions. And, Doctor, the reason I'm asking you this question is you have doctor in front of your name. That's why I'm asking you these questions. So if you went to the doctor and the doctor told you you had cancer, what would you do? Would you listen to him in general?
Depends on what kind of doctor.
Well, let's assume he was a good doctor. Let's assume he was a good doctor. Let's say he was a Nobel Prize-winning doctor. And let's say you had some questions about that diagnosis. So as a rational person, you went and got a second opinion. And that doctor told you you had cancer. Do you think you might pay attention to him?
Perhaps.
Okay, let's say that you had some questions about that doctor. So you went to 2,500 other doctors, and they all told you you had cancer. If that happened, would you then go to keep trying to find a doctor who said you didn't have cancer, or do you think you might do something about it?
2,500 qualified doctors within their specialty field, perhaps.
So so you'll know, what this committee has found out is that there, at a minimum and a lot more, 2,500 qualified science doctors who have concluded that the Earth has a pathology, and that pathology is carbon dioxide pollution, which is radically changing its ecosystem to our detriment. Now, this committee voted essentially to ignore all of these doctors and sort of go try to find some other doctors somewhere in the Earth that had some question about it, and have ignored all of the physicians of the Earth who've told us we got a problem. Now, from what you know about the science, and I'll give you a chance to voice your opinion now, do you think the state of these physicians of the Earth who've told us we got a problem, do you think we should listen to them and try to do something about this pathology we're experiencing, namely carbon pollution in the Earth?
I see no problem doing something about it. I'm not an environmental scientist or really feel qualified to opine in any expert capacity about the carbon's contribution to pollution. My personal belief that it certainly plays a role, however.
So your belief is, based on what you know of the science, that carbon pollution probably does play a role in some changes in the climate. Is that a fair statement?
I don't object to that statement, no.
Well, unfortunately, a Republican majority did, who voted en bloc on a continuing front on their war on science to deny all of these scientists yesterday, just so you'll know. I want to refer to some production numbers about oil production in the United States. Could we put the graphs up? The first graph I would refer the panel to is a chart showing U.S. domestic oil production, which sort of bottomed out in 2008. I think that was the year that President Obama took office, and has gone up in 2009. Excuse me, there's a different bar chart I think we have in a different order. Yeah, now we're looking at the right chart. You'll see the bottomed out at about 6.7 million barrels per day when President Obama was elected. Since then has been going up. Is at about 7.3 in 2009, and is about 7.5 in 2010. These are production numbers from the United States Energy Agency. Next slide, please. This slide shows Gulf of Mexico crude oil production, million barrels per month. You'll notice was going at about 40 million barrels per month, pretty steadily from October 2006 to the Hurricane Gustav and Ike when it plunged in October 2008, came back fairly rapidly in the first few months of the Obama administration, and now has been in a relatively steady state with some ups and downs, about 5 million barrels per month production during the Obama presidency. Next slide, please. The next slide shows annual U.S. natural gas gross withdrawals. We'll see that you get over toward the right side, you see 2000 pretty steady, 2008 it has been going up fairly dramatically in the last 2 years, 2008, 2009, right to the right of the graph, you'll see that is going up. Now, from these slides, which are numbers, these are not, talking points. These are not propaganda. These are not political hack jobs. These are numbers. Now, from the numbers, it looks to me like the United States is experiencing an increase in domestic oil production, an increase in Gulf of Mexico, or at least a stable production in the Gulf of Mexico, and a significant increase at a fairly rapid rate in natural gas production in the United States. And I just think it's important for us to look at the numbers. The numbers don't lie, and propaganda does. Thank you.
Congressman, could I add something to that? Could I answer that question?
Yes, sir.
I think it is a fundamental misunderstanding of the way the oil and gas industry works for the Obama administration to take credit for the increase in production. The increase in production that we've seen in the last couple of years are as the result of new oil coming online that was decades in the making, literally decades in the making and planning, just to name a few. And these are all major new finds that took years and sometimes decades to plan and bring online. In 2007, Independence Hub, in Atlantis, 2008, Neptune, Blindface, Thunder Horse, 2009, Mirage, Tahiti, 2010, Telemark, Perdido. These took years of planning, and they were planned and executed under the apparatus of the prior administration. And the federal government's EIA has already stated itself that production has declined in 2010 and will continue to do so in 2011.
Well, you know, that's really interesting because you were really happy to point out he shouldn't get any credit for this, but he should be responsible for everything else that happens in the world, including increasing gas prices, which is a result of demand increases from China and India. Thanks a lot for being fair to our Commander-in-Chief.